Today, we're jumping into a huge shift that's happening in dentistry. And no, it's not about some new tool or technique. It's about something way bigger, the idea that you can't have healthy people without a healthy planet. We're going to explore why sustainable dentistry is so important and why dental schools are right at the heart of this transformation. So, to really get started, let's look at an idea that's actually been around for a while. Way back in 1980, Friends of the Earth said, hey, true health has to include ecological well-being. It was a pretty radical thought for its time, basically saying your personal health and the planet's health are completely linked. Fast forward 4 decades, and that idea has never felt more urgent. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to connect the big picture dots, zoom in on dentistry-specific challenges, uncover a major gap in education, and then look at the frameworks and the people who are pushing for a greener future in the field. Okay, first things first, the big picture. Let's really lock in this fundamental connection between the health of our planet and our own personal health. So what exactly do we mean when we say planetary health? Well, think of it like this. It's the idea that the health of our civilization depends entirely on the health of the planet's natural systems. It's all one giant interconnected web. From our social structures to our ecosystems, you can't separate them. Now, get a load of this number. 4.4%. That's the share of global greenhouse gas emissions that come from the healthcare sector. I mean, the very industry that's supposed to heal us is a massive polluter. It's actually more than the entire airline industry. This just goes to show that healthcare isn't just a victim of climate change, it's a major part of the problem. So, how does this huge global issue translate to your local dentist's office? Let's zoom right in on the specific footprint of dentistry, from all those single-use plastics to the energy needed to run the equipment. And this is where it gets really interesting. The numbers tell a surprising story. The key to sustainable dentistry is prevention. Think about it. A patient who needs a lot of dental work over their lifetime has an environmental impact that is 8 times higher than someone with healthy teeth. And with an average of 21 plastic items used in a single procedure, you can see how it adds up. Preventing cavities isn't just good for you, it's literally good for the planet. You'd think the biggest waste problem at a dental office is all the hazardous medical stuff, right? Well, take a look at this. That's only about a quarter of it. Almost 3/4 of the waste is actually just regular stuff. Paper, cardboard, packaging, food scraps. That's a huge opportunity because so much of that can be recycled or composted. So while the problem is big, the good news is it's not some unsolvable mystery. We've got at least 8 key areas where dentistry can make a huge difference. From big ideas like focusing on prevention, all the way down to the nitty-gritty of waste and water use, each one is a lever we can pull for change. Okay, so we know the problems, and we have a pretty good idea of the solutions. But that leads to a really big question. Are we even preparing the next generation of dentists for this, or are they still being trained for yesterday's world? And here's where we hit a really strange disconnect. Studies show that pretty much everyone, students and teachers alike, agrees that sustainability is super important. But when you look at the actual curriculum, it's basically a ghost town. The desire's there, but the structure, the actual classes, the training for faculty, it's just missing. This gap isn't just a coincidence. There are some real systemic reasons why it's so hard for dental schools to weave this topic into their programs. So, what's the holdup? Turns out it's a familiar story. First, the curriculum is already bursting at the seams. There's just no room. Second, a lot of the faculty weren't trained in this stuff themselves, so they don't feel equipped to teach it. And without clear support from the top, it's left to a few passionate people to try and make it happen on their own. But here's the best part. Nobody needs to reinvent the wheel. For schools that are ready to step up, there are some fantastic, well-thought-out frameworks just waiting to be used. They provide a clear roadmap for building a green curriculum. Here's one simple but really powerful model. It breaks it all down into 4 logical steps. First, you learn how environmental problems hurt people's health. Second, you flip it and learn how healthcare itself hurts the environment. And then you move to action. What can we do to reduce our impact, and how do we adapt to the changes that are already here? And if you want to go even deeper, the Planetary Health Education Framework has these 5 core domains. And you'll notice this goes way beyond just the science. It's about fostering empathy, understanding that this is an issue of social justice, and giving students the actual skills they need to go out and create change. Now we get to one of the most exciting parts of this entire story. When you have all these institutional barriers in the way, where does the real push for change actually come from? The answer is pretty inspiring. So, with packed schedules and a lack of official support, who is actually pushing the boulder up the hill? Yup, it's the students, the future dentists, doctors, and nurses themselves. They are the ones on the ground, seeing the urgency of the climate crisis, and they are demanding that their education prepare them for the world they're inheriting. In a lot of ways, they're becoming the teachers. And they're not just asking for change, they've built this incredible tool to make it happen. It's called the Planetary Health Report Card. Students literally grade their own schools on these 5 key areas. It's a genius way to hold institutions accountable and use real data to push for change from the inside. So finally, let's pull all this together. What does this really mean for the future of dentistry? We're not just talking about adding another class. We're talking about forging a whole new professional ethic for the 21st century. This whole shift is built on a beautiful concept called planetary empathy. It sounds a little academic, but it's simple. It's about taking that empathy we have for our patients and extending it to the planet itself. It's realizing that caring for the environment isn't a chore. It's just another act of care, like treating patients. Let's make this real. Imagine 2 dentists. Jamie sees a kid with asthma and immediately thinks about the air pollution in their neighborhood. For Jamie, caring for the planet and caring for patients are the same job. Then you have Lucas. He treats the asthma, but he sees sustainability as somebody else's problem. He treats the symptom, but completely misses the root cause. This idea of planetary empathy truly changes how you practice. So, what it all comes down to is this. Every single person in this field, whether you're a student, a teacher, or a practicing dentist, has a part to play. The need is obvious, the tools are there, and a powerful student-led movement is already underway. So the only question left is the one we leave you with. What will your contribution be?